Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome to an all-new late night reaction video. I'm your late night reactor, Robert, and welcome to an all-new episode of Wrestling Reaction Weekend. Today, we're going to be checking out a WrestleMania video. This is 10 moments that almost ended WWE forever. Go ahead and check out WrestleMania, man. He makes some great content over there, so go ahead and check him out. His channel will be in the description below and also in the title of the screen. So if you guys want to go and check out his channel, go ahead and do it and subscribe to his channel. Before we get this video started, though, if you're new, I'd appreciate if you guys will hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get the video started.
From public scandals to real-world events impacting the WWE Canucks business, there have been a number of notable and real-life incidents that have almost put WWE out of business forever. Thankfully, due to Vince McMahon's business savvy and sometimes his own determination to stick to his guns, WWE continued through some of their darkest ever periods. By
the way, what I just heard right now to what I saw from Wrestle Talk was that Vince paid off 4 women and it ended up being like $12 million altogether. From what I heard, I haven't seen the video yet, but it's crazy to blow my mind to think that what's going on and how this company has not been censored off TV or anything. So it just blows my mind to see what's actually going on in this company right now.
Which times were they? Well, join us now as WrestleMania looks at 10 moments that almost ended WWE forever. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10, the 1997 budget cuts. In 1997, WWE's product vastly improved. The more grittier, realistic approach of storytelling was winning them new fans, and stars such as Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock were on the rise. The issue was,
I'm guessing when they got rid of like all the older wrestlers and then they jumped ship to WCW. That's what I'm guessing.
Is that the financials in WWE were actually getting worse, and Vince McMahon was forced to cut salaries up and down the card. According to Jim Ross, he took a $30,000 pay cut in order to keep the WWE afloat, and this was something JR was willing to do in order to keep WWE going full steam ahead in the Attitude Era.
Wow.
One of the WWE's top stars at the time was Bret Hart, and WWE were unable to honor the contract he signed in '96, which ultimately led to Bret joining WCW and the infamous Montreal Screwjob taking place. The monetary issues the WWE were facing in '97 were sorted by 1998, and throughout 1998 and 1999, WWE began to deliver record numbers that truly turned their fortunes around. Number 9, the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic, which began in 2020, was a difficult time for everyone, but for live entertainment companies such as WWE, it was a huge blow that could have put them out of business.
Never again do I ever want a pandemic to happen like this. It made wrestling seem so fucking boring. Like, just no crowd reactions, no nothing. It made the show seem so damn boring. The only thing that was good was the WrestleMania, like when the pandemic barely happened, but like after that, like everything felt so slow and it felt weird. Even with the AEW, it just felt weird. And then once they brought like superstars to be like the audience and make noise and everything, it felt a little good, but just a crowd reaction just doesn't. Without crowd reactions, it just feels flat and boring.
They were forced to relocate WrestleMania 36 to the Performance Center, and the event took place in front of 0 fans. They continued with this trend of having their own shows take place in front of no fans, and in all honesty, it wasn't great. Fan interaction and investment is what makes pro wrestling work, and without the fans, it became uninteresting and, quite frankly, rather boring. WWE even had their top star Roman Reigns leave the company for an extended period due to the pandemic, as whilst fans were quick to praise Reigns for doing what was right for his health, the product took a huge hit.
Yeah, I could understand why Reigns did that, because he fought leukemia, and when you fight cancer, chemo makes your immune system very low. And coming from me as well, because I got hit with COVID and I had cancer and I had chemo and my immune system was very low. So COVID really hit me very, very hard, more worse than probably anyone in the family. My bones were aching. I felt tired. It was just so bad. I was almost in bed for like a week straight because of how bad it was, and I was sick for like maybe a month and a half, and it's crazy how much that really affected me.
They eventually came up with a Thunderdome idea, and this would have electric boards where the seats would normally be, and these boards would have fans watching the product at home from their electronic devices.
And to
WWE's credit, this worked, and it allowed the superstars to feel connected again. By the summer of 2020, Reigns was back on television, albeit with a brand new character, and WWE had managed to survive one of the most difficult periods in company history.
But let's not talk about the controversy that was also on the wall, on the screens, where we had a Chris Benoit, we had a Ku Klux Klan member, we had, well, not member, but like just visual in general, and there was some bad things that were on screen because dumbasses don't know how to behave.
Number 8, the XFL. WWE chairman Vince McMahon in 2000
Two-time.
decided to venture outside the world of pro wrestling and launch the XFL. This would be a brand new professional American football league, but sadly for Vince, it flopped hard. The league lasted only one season before it was taken off air due to low television ratings. This wasn't something that Vince expected, as he actually anticipated the league becoming a brand new juggernaut in the sports industry, but it simply wasn't to be. Now, there are differing reports in relation to just how much Vince actually lost. Some say it lost him $35 million, while some claim it lost Vince up to $70 million. Oh, yeah. But Vince didn't let the idea go, as in 2018 he began to execute the idea once again, as this time he believed he had learned from his mistakes from the prior venture. The XFL 2.0 would launch in 2020, but it would last just a few weeks before the COVID-19 pandemic ruined any plans to continue the season.
And then I believe The Rock also purchased XFL from him. And yeah, it just took it away from him for like a small chunk amount of what he actually put into the brand.
The venture was once again over, but this time it actually wasn't Vince's fault. Nevertheless, the XFL would be purchased by The Rock, and The Rock and his dedicated team plan to relaunch the XFL once again in 2023.
Alright.
Number 7, the 1992 roster exit. When news broke that George Zahorian, the main doctor for WWE, was sentenced to 3 years in prison after being convicted of selling steroids to wrestlers, it naturally put a lot of eyes on WWE. Talents such as Hulk Hogan were mysteriously absent from television, and smaller talents such as Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels would be ever more present throughout the WWE product. But it wasn't just Hogan who exited the company, as the Ultimate Warrior, the British Bulldog were all apparently let go from the company for apparent steroid use.
We already know the Ultimate Warrior with that whole scandal of him and Stephanie, the rumors, and so I know he not left, but he got released by Vince. Rumors that Vince found out about it, and he ended up releasing him.
This is something that both men denied, but it would be extremely nonsensical for WWE to release two of their biggest stars for anything else. Their public perception was seriously damaged, and with their roster being reduced, things could only get better for Vince McMahon's company, right? Well, number 6, the steroid trial. In 1993, Vince McMahon was charged by the US Department of Justice for crimes relating to the illegal activity and distribution of anabolic steroids. These were serious charges, and Vince could have faced up to 11 years in prison.
Jesus.
This put WWE into a state of chaos, as there was concern that Vince could actually go to prison, and questions were asked such as what would happen to the landscape and structure of WWE if this was to happen. Vince was victorious in court following an 18-day trial in 1994, and was officially ruled that he didn't distribute or conspired
The fuck's with the neck brace?
to distribute steroids to superstars within the WWE. A number of current and ex-WWE talent testified during the trial, most famously Hulk Hogan, who testified that he used steroids and would regularly pick up steroids at WWE HQ, but he stated that this was without the knowledge of the WWE chairman.
Jesus.
Number 5, Stone Cold Steve Austin walks out. On a random edition of Raw in 2002, WWE booked Stone Cold Steve Austin to face Brock Lesnar in a King of the Ring qualifier. The plan was for Austin to actually lose to the young star. This was something that didn't sit well with the former WWE champion. Austin informed WWE that if these were the creative plans, he wouldn't be at the show, and proceeded to walk out of the company. Following his walkout, Austin wouldn't appear for the rest of 2002, and WWE superstars as well as Vince McMahon made a number of personal and derogatory comments on WWE television regarding Austin's antics. WWE's biggest star walking out of the company could have been drastic, but somehow it wasn't. WWE were in the midst of building up talent such as Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and thankfully they knew they had to begin to create new stars long before Austin decided to walk out of the company. Number 4, Pillman's.
Wow, that blows my mind. Just thinking like, oh, they walked out. Like, I would have been so scared if my main star would have walked out. I don't think The Rock was there at the time. He was doing movies. And then Stone Cold leaving. So they left you with like Cena, Brock, Undertaker, and stuff like that. So that's real crazy.
Pillman's got a gun. The WWE's product in 1996 was still very much family friendly, and it wouldn't represent the WWE that went on to be popular in the years to come. However, in '96, WWE aired a controversial angle that was so risque that the US network almost cancelled Raw indefinitely. The angle saw Stone Cold Steve Austin break into Brian Pillman's house, and as this took place, Pillman's wife as well as WWE interviewer Kevin Kelly would scream for help. The feed then faded to black before the commotion picked up at the end of Raw. Here, Pillman still had the gun and he embarked on a profanity-filled tirade directed towards Austin. It was a crazy segment and something that had never been seen on WWE television. Due to the segment airing completely live, WWE couldn't edit any of the profanity out, and due to this, the USA Network was furious. Vince McMahon eventually made amends with the USA Network and promised that nothing of this nature would ever take place on Raw ever again. Well, he must have been lying. Number 3, WrestleMania 1. The inaugural WrestleMania event was the biggest risk of Vince McMahon's career. He was going to create a wrestling super show featuring mainstream celebrities combined with the best the WWE had to offer. Going into the show, Vince knew that this was make or break and he had put far too much money into the show for it to be a failure. Bill Apter famously said on the WrestleMania Rewind that creating WrestleMania was the risk for Vince McMahon was his entire life, so to say. He had everything, all his money down on WrestleMania, betting that this would make his business soar. Vince managed to convince the likes of Muhammad Ali, Cyndi Lauper, and Mr. T to all appear on the show.
Wow.
As luck would have it, the pay-per-view ended up being a monumental success, and this was what Vince had to say when reflecting on the success of the inaugural event during an interview on WrestleMania Rewind. After the event was over in Madison Square Garden, the very first one, I began to get phone calls from the rest of the Eastern Seaboard. That too was a success. Now we're on to something. What about the Midwest? Chicago came in? Hey, that's working. So at the end of the night, we had been partying quite heavily. WrestleMania would go on to become one of the biggest events in pop culture, and the WrestleMania brand has become just as strong as the WWE brand itself, and this is all down to the risk Vince took all the way back in 1985.
I say due to the fact of
Number
it
2,
being
the
like,
WWE Network.
Being like the Super Bowl of wrestling, that's what I would compare WrestleMania to. And it blows my mind, you know. Sometimes there are some shitty WrestleManias, but there are a lot of great WrestleMania moments as well.
When Vince McMahon announced to the world that he was launching the WWE Network, there was major concern. They were going to abandon their prior pay-per-view model in favor of having all their paid content on a paid subscription platform. This was game-changing, but Vince saw how the likes of Netflix and Hulu were operating, and he knew that the traditional pay-per-view model was dead. The WWE Network was an overwhelming success, as for $9.99 fans were able to watch live pay-per-view events as well as thousands of hours of classic content. This led to record numbers being delivered by WWE, which in turn made stockholders extremely happy. And number 1, the Attitude Era. Following the launch of WCW Nitro in '95, wrestling fans now had a choice. They could either watch WWE or WCW on a Monday night. At the beginning, fans decided to watch WCW as they had the bigger stars and their product was more compelling. WCW had created the likes of the New World Order running riot, and for the next few years they would create and attract major stars such as Goldberg, Bret Hart, and Lex Luger. WWE were getting their backside handed to them on a weekly basis, and they needed radical change.
That's so crazy.
Consequently, Vince created the Attitude Era. This would be a risky time period with entertaining yet daring characters and storylines, and it allowed the talent to be themselves. Gone were the days of childish characters and storylines. This was a huge risk by WWE and could have led to all their sponsors parting ways with them, as well as their TV network deciding that this wasn't a direction that they were comfortable with. Thankfully, it was a huge success, and the Attitude Era propelled WWE to new heights, and they would embark on their most successful time period in company history. But there you have it, folks.
Yeah, man, that was absolutely crazy. Like, there are so many moments in WWE that I really believe would have ended it. Even more of the like the racial characters and stuff like that. Like, it would have really hurt the WWE, but I don't know what happened. Again, go ahead and check out WrestleMania, man. They are a fantastic channel. They put content all the time. They do a lot of hard work in there, so go ahead and check out their channel. Again, their channel will be in the title and also in the description below, so go ahead and subscribe to that channel. Camera just died, sorry. Gonna have to end it like this. Bye.